Hi, welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I am delighted to be joined by Paul Hendrick, also known as the Bee Guy. Paul is the founder of the Bee Sanctuary of Ireland. I have a bit of an affinity for bees, and so when I came across a video that had been shared, I reached out to Paul to find out more, and then once we spoke, I knew how important it was to share their story, and I'm delighted to have you here, Paul. How are you?
Hi Sam, thanks a million. Yep, we're great today. It's a bit wet and miserable here. We're not having great weather at the moment, but it gives us the opportunity to do stuff like this, which is great. So thanks
Yeah.
for having us. Looking forward to it.
You're more than welcome. Let's start. How did it all start for you?
It was accidental, I suppose. We purchased a small farm in it's southwest Wicklow, which is about an hour from Dublin in Ireland. It's up and it looks back over the Wicklow Hills, and we purchased it over a decade ago, about 11 years ago. We were basically we were opting out at the time. We'd kind of sold up, and it was during the recession, and we'd sold up, and we were heading off to France to live the good life, to go off to the countryside and open up a sheet business and just disappear with it. We had I think 2 kids at the time, young kids, and that was what we just wanted to get out and do it. And while we were organizing that, we stumbled across this farm that was for sale. Now I don't come from an agriculture background. My wife did, and we fell in love with it. It kind of just called to us. That's the only way I'd put it. It was down a kind of a half a mile lane that you could barely get down in a car. There was no road frontage on it, but when you got down to this lane that was kind of trees coming at you from either side, it opened up into this wonderful space. And I think from the first time we walked onto it, we felt it was, I suppose, peaceful, a sanctuary. There was something special about it. The old farmhouse had been kind of let go. It was still there and still like doable, but the place had been an old farmer had owned it, and he'd passed away, and he didn't have any kids to leave it to, so he'd left it to his nephew, who then sold it on to these 3 brothers, who ironically had set the place up for hunting. They'd kind of expanded ponds on a wetland area, and they put in a pheasant pen. So they were setting it up to have people down from the big city, I suppose, to at the weekend to shoot pheasant and shoot ducks. But because they'd done this, they'd kind of created these. The fields were still kind of set out and productive from an agricultural point of view, but they'd created these mad wild spaces. It was a 12-acre wetland that they'd developed ponds on, and they planted trees around for cover and stuff like that. So we walked on. They were selling it. It had been on the market for a while, and ironically, people didn't want it. Our other farmers didn't want it because there was so much wild and so much unproductive land that wouldn't be of value to them. Whereas we saw the value in what they didn't see value in. It was the biodiversity, the nature, the potential, and we just fell in love with it. And we tried to resist for I think about a year or so. We kind of we'd sneak up and we'd have picnics on it, and we'd look around, and because there wasn't anyone living on it, and it just kept calling to us, and we were kind of, I suppose we were getting on the boat to France, and I said, listen, we'll throw an offer in and we'll just see. And it happened, and there was different things that went on, but we ended up with it. So we ended up with this 55-acre farm, which is the size of 31 football pitches, for anyone who doesn't have an idea of acreage. And we had to figure out what we were going to do with it. Like we'd bought it to kind of protect it because it called to us, and then we had to figure out what we were going to do with it. So I'll tend to keep talking, but I'll try and keep it as quick as possible, because we'll be here for 5 hours if I really tell the story. So basically, we went down the route. We went organic very quickly. The first year we left the fields rented out, and we were standing there with the kids and watching them coming in, spraying the crops, and they were taking silage, 3-4 cuts of silage off the ground. So they were really just destroying the soil, destroying what needs to be there, the way they were going about it. And we kind of said, this is wrong. So we went organic, and then I went off and did horticultural courses, and we went vegan organic, which is one step beyond, which is we don't keep any stock, we don't use any animal inputs, and it's just really clean and really pure, and nothing gets harmed on the place. And we were setting up to as a vegan salad business. We were going to grow salad, lettuce leaves, stuff like that, in a vegan way, and sell them to vegan restaurants. That was the plan. And I think it was 2017. We put about 1.5 acres crops in the ground. Went off on the first holiday we'd had in 5 years, because we'd put everything into this place, getting it. getting it established. And we came back a week later, and the deer had been in, the rabbits, and they'd literally taken everything out of the ground that we had in the ground, because we left stupidly, I suppose. We left it untended. We thought we'd sneak away for a week, and we didn't have to water or anything like that, so it'd be okay. We came back, it was gone. So I found myself sitting in a field with September 2017, wondering what the hell I was going to do with the place, if I'm honest about it. Like, we would have had to put a deer fence up around the whole place, which was like prohibitively expensive. There's no way we could afford it. And I sat there, and as I sat there, I was sitting in a field of clover, and there was bees buzzing around me. And we kind of had this notion, or we knew that bees were in trouble. And I was kind of sitting there going, and it's just, the more I kind of, I suppose in that peaceful, kind of thoughtful moment, I kind of, the noise of the bees got louder. I looked around me, and I just saw bees hopping off all the clover, and I went, bees are in trouble. How come we've got so many? What's going on there? So I had this kind of eureka moment. I don't know where it came from. I walked back into my wife, Claire Louise, in the kitchen, and said, will we turn the place into a bee sanctuary? And she looked at me, didn't kick me out, which was a good start. And that was it. From that day, we decided we'd be a bee sanctuary. Right. So it wasn't a case of, okay, we're going to be a bee sanctuary. Now, where do we go to get advice on this? Because it hasn't been done before. We're the only native wild bee sanctuary on the planet. We don't see ourselves as, or we never saw ourselves as environmentalists or activists. We're just an ordinary family. There's 6 of us now, 4 kids, and we're concerned about the future. And it was kind of, the way I put it, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and we're the only 6 with a bee sanctuary, which is kind of mad. You know, we're known at this stage, I'll get into it later, but we're known for being a little bit disruptive, and that's good in the climate we're in at the moment, and what's going on in the world. We need people that I think they're going to be a little bit disruptive, but we're disruptive in a kind of I'd say an eloquent way. We're just trying to do the right thing, and that's what we're really trying to do. So I'll get back to, if you want to ask me a question, I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. So I think it's important. Like, the reason that I like sharing these videos is educational, and I think it's important for people to understand what bees do and why they're so good for the environment. You know, I talk a lot about sustainability in my podcast, and I think it'd be really good for you to share a bit more about why bees are good for the environment, and also you mentioned that they're in danger, like why and how bad that is. So if you could answer that would be great.
Yep. I tend to talk about ourselves and then forget to talk about the bees. But basically, the reason we are a bee sanctuary is bees are in trouble. Our insects in general, nature in general, is in serious trouble. It's the way I put it. She's on her knees, and if nature's on her knees, we're on our knees too, whether we realize it or not, as a species. Over here in Ireland, we have 102 species of bee, and 1/3 of them are endangered. I think the figures worldwide are around 40%. I know there was a study came out of Germany back a couple of years ago, and they looked at flying insects in general, and these were on nature reserves over I think it was a 29-year period, and there was a loss of flying insects. It's a loss of 76% by mass. So basically, and these were on nature reserves. So our insect populations are in trouble. Our bees are in trouble. I could trot out figures here one after the other. That's what people tend to do, but we don't have to prove it anymore. We don't have to, like, it's kind of this, there's no argument about it. We are in trouble. Insects are in trouble. Bees are in trouble. So what we kind of say is like, well, what are we going to do about it? People tend to think as well. That's one thing we had to kind of be upfront about. We're not a honeybee farm, and that's what makes us the only true native wild bee sanctuary on the planet. This is about there's basically 3 types of bees. There's your bumblebees, there's your honeybees, and then your solitary bees. And people know honeybees. That's what they know. That's what you say bee to anyone, they usually think the guys in the white suits with the little smoke things, and they're going in, taking the hives out and taking the honey, and that's great. That's fine. That's what some bees are, but not all bees. I mean, there's only in Ireland we've only 1 species of honeybee. So there's 21 bumblebees, and the rest are solitary bees. So I think worldwide we have 20,000 bee species, and 90% of them are solitary bees. People don't understand this, and what this leads to is, and we're very passionate about, is a misunderstanding on how we can help bees. Honeybees aren't in trouble. And I think I don't know who it was said recently. There's never been more honeybees on the planet in the history of the planet than there are now. They do have there are issues with them, and there's disease and stuff like that, but they're a kept species. They're a farm species. Yeah. So when people hear, the bees are in trouble, and what they'll do is I want to help, which is great, right? And people are becoming more aware of it. What they do is I'll go out and get a honeybee hive and I'll put it in my back garden, and I'm helping the bees. And that's like that's like hearing wild birds in trouble and saying I'm going to put some chickens in my back garden. It's not relevant, you know what I mean, from that point of view. And there is a point where when people get involved with honeybees, they kind of get more tuned into nature and they're more connected to it, and that's great. But it as a solution for what's happening to our native wild bees, it isn't a solution. It can actually be part of the problem, because when you have if you put a honeybee hive into a location, you can have a healthy hive can have 60,000 bees or more. I'd say an average hive could have 30,000 bees, and if even some of them are foraging all summer, each bee can make 1,000 flower visits a day. So if you multiply that by 20,000 bees out foraging every day, that's a lot of extra flower visits in that area. And what's happening is our flower resources and our forage that the bees require are diminishing. So and then people are possibly bringing in a hive of 30,000-40,000 bees into that area. So it actually is part of the problem. Yeah. And then moving the hives around can cause disease. And we're not anti-beekeeping, and we know it's been done for thousands of years, and it's you know it's a hobby, but it is an extractive hobby. It takes from the creature. And again, we have a lot of beekeepers that follow us, and they support what we do, but we have to be honest about it. And that comes down a lot of the time too, when businesses hear what's going on, they want to get involved. What they'll do is there'll be someone that'll say, we'll put some hives on the roof of the business or on your business premises, and we go, that's great and it's nice, and the employees or the staff will come out and they'll be interested in it, but it's not the solution. And we're at a stage now where we have to look at real solutions. And so that's basically the overall what's happening with bees now. And bees, I mean, they pollinate most of our flowers. They're responsible for a huge amount of what we eat. If you like apples, you need bees. I mean, we have a situation, I think it's the usual one that's trotted out, but in China, they're climbing up trees with little brushes to pollinate the apples, because the bees, there aren't any bees. Wow. So it's that's what we're looking at. And what we do here on the sanctuary, I think, which is a little bit different. One is we have the sanctuary here, which kind of represents it. Kind of we took a farm and said, right, we're drawing a line in the depleted soil, and we're saying no, we're giving this back to nature, and we're gonna make a stand. And we kind of see it as kind of, I suppose it's kind of like a Camelot for nature, for bees. It's somewhere pure and good that is on the side of bees, and is there to advocate for bees and nothing else. You know, I mean, because we have bees and because we do the right thing for bees, we also have so much more on the bee sanctuary now. I mean, we've woodpeckers here that are only established in Ireland over the last 10-15 years. And we just put a barn owl box up on the 1st of March, actually. And this is a red listed species. And within 7 days, there was activity in it, which is very, very quick. And we're there hoping to nest in it. But that's because of what we do. So we make this claim here that if we want to save, I don't say save the planet, because the planet will always be here. If we want to save our ability to live on the planet and to exist on the planet, and we want to save the future, our future, save bees. And that's a big claim. People go, oh, well, like save bees. But if we do what needs to be done to save bees on a personal, business, international level, we'd save the planet.
Yeah, but you're not a charity, right?
No, we're a not-for-profit. We're a social enterprise. We went down. There's only myself, my wife, and my son helps out sometimes, and the younger ones went around the place. But we didn't want to go down the charity route necessarily, because there seems to be so many charities out there, especially in Ireland anyway. And it's not. It makes it kind of slow, and you've got a board of management that you've got to kind of check things by, and you've got to be very careful. And we're very vocal about what we say, and we're very outright and blunt, and not in a kind of like in a way that we have to be, because to get the message across, because there's so many mixed messages and wrong messages going out there. There's other people that are in this country anyway that are supposedly saving bees, and they're good people, but they haven't got the kahunas to go where they need to go with it. If I may, like they won't. Like an example I'll give you really quickly is and this is from the UK, but it works over here too. We came across a study 5 years ago whereby when people are going into their garden centre or their DIY centre or their chain store to buy plants for their garden that are even marked bee friendly, most of the time, those plants are actually possibly bad for bees. They're bad for the soil. They're bad for the environment because they're pre-treated with a cocktail of chemicals. And this isn't known. It's known within the industry, but it's not known outside the industry. And even like the plants that are labeled friendly for bees will have these chemicals on them. And we came across a study from an academic in the UK. He's a really good guy. And we saw this and went, okay, we need to tell people this. We need to let people know. And there's another bee advocacy in Ireland, and they're kind of the official one. And they were sitting on this, they wouldn't say it. And we'd be at stuff where they'd be at, and we'd stand up and they'd be talking and say, listen, we need to tell people about this. They couldn't get rid of us quick enough. Couldn't shut us up quick enough. And we couldn't understand this, because what we found when we said it to people is they'd go, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Where can I get my plants? Or what can I do? And we say, source organic plants, go and ask questions, go in and demand better, and go into your DIY, your supermarket, and when you're buying, say, listen, ask the questions, are these treated with chemicals? And the response you get is, we don't know. That's what you'll get. And then you have to say, well, could you find out for me? And they'll go back, yeah, they possibly are. It happens in garden centres too. And eventually, after a few questions, they'll admit, yeah, we mightn't treat them here ourselves, but they're probably treated before they come in. And people don't know this, and we couldn't understand why people wouldn't be told this. And again, we're not trying to bring down the flower growing industry. What we're trying to do is improve it so that it's viable going forward, and it's doing the right thing. Because people, I know myself, if I had a small garden and I went out and said, listen, I'm going to do something for the bees, and I'll go out and I'll go to the garden centre and I'll spend £100 or €100 on flowers with the kids on the Saturday and bring them back and plant them. And then I found out afterwards that this wasn't good for the soil. This wasn't possibly what we should have done. I'd go, I've done it. I'm not going to do it again. That's what people think. I've made the effort. I got it wrong. So why not get it right in the first instance? That's what we say. Why not inform people? Because people, I suppose it depends on who informs when and what tone you use as well. We find we just talk to people to go, oh my God, what can we do? And we tell them, and they go, thanks a million. They go and do it. And it's as simple as that. And we don't understand that reticence or that fear of doing that from the others. And that sitting on knowledge we know that we need to act on to make the place better.
Yeah, and the way I see it is you're a nature-based solution, right? And if you can get people to grow wildflowers in the same way that you do and spread the word, then it's going to be. I know a lot of businesses actually are looking for ways to support nature-based solutions. You work with businesses, right? They can support you as a nature-based solution, right?
We do, yeah. We've tried to keep what we do here very clean and very pure, and we obviously we need to be here though, and we need an income to make sure we can be here and be as impactful as we can. And we had quite a large company came on board with us last year, and they've committed to 3 years. Clarence, they're the skincare and beauty, their international business, and which is great. Great to get that I suppose not validation, but the fact that a business that size will look at us and go, because we're only very small.
Yeah.
What I say is small but mighty, where we because of due to social media, like we wouldn't have a marketing budget here, but we genuinely we'll put a post up on social media, and we have people follow us from, like, Cool Fancy's the name of our local town, from Colombia literally to Cool Fancy, from New York to Nigeria, literally from Tasmania to Tokyo. People follow us, watch us, they take on board what we say, and they interact with us, which is amazing. Like from considering, like, it's kind of like we're the little farm that could, that kind of way, kind of field of dreams, that it really, really works, and people love what we do. We try to bring a little bit of humor into it. It's a very serious, dark subject, if we're honest about it, like the loss of nature, the loss of bees, the loss of birds. But what we kind of say, we got to inspire people to want to do something. We see a lot of environmentalists and NGOs, and their messaging is so dour and so boring, if I'm honest about it. We sit on these webinars where we're listening to, like, that's where COVID was kind of good for us, because we don't like leaving the sanctuary, to be honest with you. We're happy here. We do go up and we will do talks and business, stuff like that, but like we want to get back. We because of COVID, a lot of stuff went online, and a lot of these meetings, environmental meetings and stuff like that from the NGOs went online, so we were able to sit in and watch and interact. And I'd be sitting there with Claire Louise, we'd be listening to it, and at the end of it, someone would go, that was so inspiring, and we'd kind of look at one another and go, were we on the same webinar? Well, there wasn't much inspiring about it. It was kind of someone reading off a PowerPoint, which my attitude to that is, I can read myself. I don't need you to read it to me, embellish it, excite me, inspire me, make me want to go and do something. And there's very little of that around, we find. Very, very, which is worrying and astounding. I mean, there's lots of money does go into this sector, but it kind of tends to get chewed up by the usual suspects, I think, and a lot of it's we need someone to shake it up a little bit. Like our messaging is always, we kind of bring a bit of rock and roll to it, and we're not no spring chickens here. Like but we think you need to excite people. You've got people they have a very short attention span nowadays. And we need to, while they're looking, you need to grab them that they want to look and they want to do something. You need to inspire them to do something. That's what we do here.
Yeah, but I think the thing about you guys is, you know, you're truly authentic, and I would imagine that's why an organisation like Clarins would see you and want to support you. And it's something that's close to home. And I think people are starting to realise that they're looking for nature-based solutions that are, you know, closer to where they are, somewhere that they can go, they can see, they haven't got to fly across the other side of the world to see it. They know it's doing good. They know it comes from the heart. And I think that's why, you know, when I first saw the video and when I first spoke to you, I was like, you're doing this you're really trying to do something good. You know, it's not like you're making money out of this. You really are just doing good. Otherwise, it'd be a honeybee farm. You know.
Oh yeah. It's like I said, we were only talking about it recently, and like we work this 24/7, 365. Like I'll be up at 3 o'clock in the morning on social media doing something. We're up in we run the physical sanctuary as well, which there's maintenance on that, there's looking after it, and then we're online. So we literally we live this. And if we were to put this much effort into another business, we'd be fairly well off, to be honest with you. But again, because of what we came across when we looked into the sector and went looking for help, because we didn't know about bees and we had to go and learn about them, and the response we got was like, oh, we really have to do something here, because there's no one really doing it here. There's no one really. So yeah, we, like I say, as regards to nature-based solution, well, I was only having that conversation with Clarence recently. There's so many people planting trees all over the planet. And I think it's starting to come out now a little bit that we should plant trees, and it's great.
Yeah.
First of all, what I would say there is, first we should protect the trees we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll see people like they're in a school and they're planting 20 trees or something, and they're going out, and as they're walking down the road, there's someone there cutting down the mature trees because they're overhanging a road, or they're overhanging cars, or the insurance industry have decided that they're a danger, which they're not, right? And those trees they're planting are not going to have the same effect as those mature trees for 30, 40, 50 years. And they missed that point. And also a lot of the trees that are going in the wrong places. There's local people in countries that are getting paid a pittance to do this, while there's money being made on the other side. They're being used for carbon offsets. So we kind of looked at that very early on, and our attitude that no, we don't do carbon offsetting. And what we want, if companies come on board with us, it's got to be real. Clarence has been really good like that with us. Because one of the things that, like I said before about honeybees, people think bees are about honeybees. And if companies kind of want to do stick a picture of a honeybee up, or an American bee, it's nothing got to do with UK bee. And we just go, no. And we said that to Clarence from the start, if you're going to get involved with us, we'll make sure it's squeaky clean, that it's true. It like it is. The credentials are great, are bulletproof on it. And what they do with us is they run. We're very proactive with it. We don't just sit back and take thanks for the sponsorship, and we're going to do something. We're proactive trying to do stuff with them. We've seen them learn from us in Ireland anyway. They've learned from our messaging, and they say they won't put up a press release, or they won't put up an article without running it through us first to make sure that it's true and it's real. I think that's what has to be done. There's lots of people taking money off businesses, and they're going and doing good stuff with it, but it's not. We want the business to interact. We want to have an effect on that business. We just don't want to take money and say thanks a million. We'll put a press release out. You put a press release out. We'll both go our own ways. We want to actually work with that company and work with that business to make sure that they're learning, they're doing the right thing. And I think we try and push CSR into a space whereby we say, do it because it's good, not because you're getting something back from it. Because what will happen in the future is, when future generations are, I think even sooner, 10 years down the line, when we look back, the ones that go that little bit extra with the likes of us and do it for real and not for offsetting and not for just a press release, the one that really do it and push that, it will look really good. They're future proofing their business by doing it. I mean, when it comes down to it, if we don't save nature, there's no profits.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know, and it's a very obvious statement. When people tend to miss it, they kind of go, "Oh yeah, we'll be fine." And nature gets pushed to the bottom. It's because there's a recession or there's a run on the bank. You know, the usual. There's something going on, and we get to that again. And this is slipping away underneath
Mm-hmm.
every single minute,
Yeah.
and we need to hold that. And we need people that are going to stand up and say, "Listen, this is what's happening. You mightn't like to hear it." And that's I was on I was doing a radio interview on a Friday. And one of the topics I was talking was bravery, because what we have is we have so many people in positions of leadership and so few leaders. And there's a difference. There's a huge difference. The tone in the company, the tone in the organization is set from the top. And we need to get the right people at the top. And we need to get the people at the top and talk to them, and get them to understand what's actually going on, so then they can influence the people that report into them, that they're responsible for. And that's what we need to do. And we hear what we do is we don't go to environmental meetings. We see it and we know what's going on. We like talking to PR people. We like talking to marketing people. We like talking, because they're the people that can influence. And we spend a lot of our time trying to talk to people from that industry, and they can make a huge difference. So yeah, we're open for business as regards people coming in, and what we almost put a challenge up, say, listen, come on and see if you're clean enough for us, see if you can work with us, because if you are, you'll be doing some good.
Yeah, and you know, look, it's why I wanted to share your story. I can clearly see that you're doing good, and you know, I wanted to support you by sharing your story. How can people get in contact with you? What your website address is?
And we've two websites. We have a website, it's the beesanctuaryofireland.com, and then we have a second one we've just launched a couple of weeks ago called savingbees.ie, and it's basically a slimmed down version of the other one, a quick version, because we've had the other one has all the beautiful pictures and it has the information on bees. The shorter one is you can get in, get out and see what we're about, and if you want to help us out or you want to get involved, it gives you the details on it. So that's basically what we're looking at, and I'd say we are happy for where we're looking for companies, businesses to come on board with us and see if we can make a difference. And we know from our point of view we can make that difference, but we need the support of people that can get us out there, that can get our message out to a wider audience. There's no point in us talking to the same audience. We want to talk to people that don't know about bees. That's why something like Clarence was great, because it's the beauty industry, it's skincare industry, and a lot of people, and there's a lot of influencers involved, stuff like that mightn't be as tuned in, and then they're seeing Clarence with us, and they're going, well, we'll take a look at this, and that's what interests us from that point of view.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing amazing, and I hope people do reach out to you. I will share this far and wide, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for genuinely doing what you do and doing something good for nature, because I absolutely see the importance of it. I really appreciate your time, Paul, the bee guy. It's really good to talk to you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks, Sam.